Hello everyone, Argsy here. Welcome on to the second map vlog, dev vlog, whatever you want to call it, of my new map, Winchester, that I am working on for Farming Simulator 25. Today I thought we'd do a little bit of a look around at a couple of the different farmyards, or the main different farmyards that we have on the map, just to give you a little bit of an understanding of my thought process on how the farmyards are going to be set up, how it all connects into the map, how it connects into what's there at the moment in terms of a sort of a realistic look at the area, how the farmyards are worked, and that sort of thing. So let's dive in and have a look. I'll show you the PDA. We'll highlight where the main farmyards. I think I said in the initial map preview that there is 3 main farmyards, but then there's a couple of options around where you could build your own farmyard, you could build a farm, do whatever you want to do, or just run it however you want to do. But that's the beauty of it all. I'm trying to make the map as universal as possible that people can play it however they want. There is sort of some limitations. Obviously some of the sheds in that aren't kind of exactly what you'd see in New Zealand, but they kind of fit the bill reasonably well. And then you've got things like my pole shed pack that you can see there behind us, which fit it perfectly because that's what I've moulded it on. So let's take a look at the PDA, and then we'll go have a look at some of the farmyards. As I've said previously, the map's basically split in half by the main road. This is State Highway 1, the main north-south road in New Zealand. We're over here. This is the first farmyard, and this is kind of where it's a bit of a mixed farm. Actually, in real life, this all extends out off to the left-hand side of the map into a big dairy farm. So this is kind of like a secondary yard area. If I zoom in a little bit, you can start to see some of what's around. There's some bales there, silage bales. There's a couple of little sheds. We've got another couple of sheds over here. There's actually cattle yards in there, and then we've got the house. So we're going to take a look around this one in just a second, and I'll explain exactly how I've set it up. So it's a little bit different, but kind of trying to tie into what's going on there as well. So that is farm number 1, and that's kind of what is going to be our main kind of dairy farm, animal farm, whatever it is you want to call it. Then we've got a couple more on the other side here, which is where our arable land is. So this farm up the top here, if I zoom in, you can see on the PDA, or the aerial photo underneath it, has a few sheds, has quite a few different grain silos, sort of standalone single grain silos in amongst it. Quite a big yard area, a lot of machinery lying around, stretches all the way back out here into this kind of green grassed area. There's some old machinery laying around there. Has the house, has a few streams which go through it as well. So that's kind of the second one. That's the one I see as the main arable farm. It's connected in really closely here with obviously all the arable fields, the big arable fields that are on the map. And then we're going to carry on down, and this is what is effectively, I guess, the third of the main farmyards. A little bit hard for me to decipher exactly how this one's set up or being used, but they've got kind of these hedges which are all around here, go around the edge of the fields. This is quite a common thing to see in New Zealand. It's normally macrocarpa. I think that is a cypress, if I'm not mistaken, but they're often trimmed really tightly, but they can be quite tall. So I'm still working on the model for those. I think I need to get a better model done for that rather than what I've used at the moment, which is basically a scaled up hedge from FS22. So a few things to work on there, but as you can see, there's a few sheds scattered around here, some of these areas as well. On top of that, I'm just going to zoom all the way back out of here. There's a couple of other areas which could be set up as farms. And here there's kind of a little bit of a ramshackle kind of area, a couple of sheds, a couple of shipping containers. So I've set this up actually as kind of a rundown old school farmyard. Could be a really good sort of start from scratch, kind of this sort of unfarmed land. It's not sort of pure green pasture or anything like that. It's a bit scruffy, it's a bit scraggly, it's a bit overgrown, and kind of just feels like that vibe through that whole area. So it could be something there. And then basically down the bottom here, the map finishes off pretty much across that line. And as it goes further south, there's more farm. But we've got some stockyards in here, some cattle yards. Back over this side, another cattle yard up in there. There's a little bit of a silage pit. And there is actually on another aerial photo is a silage pit or silage bunker in around about here somewhere. Can't remember exactly where it is in there. So I've kind of taken a little bit of artistic license with the farmyards around this area, the farmland. And there's some opportunities down here to, I guess, put some sheds down around these cattle yards. I'll show you them. We've got some stockyards, cattle yards, and a silage bunker there. There's another silage bunker down the bottom here, and some more cattle yards. So some opportunities there to build some farmyards. There's another property in here which has a couple of sheds, which could be a farmyard connected with the sawmill. And then on top of that, in this area here, I'm going to actually put in what is going to be kind of like a contractor's yard. So if you just wanted to run contracts and have equipment and park it there without having a proper farmyard or anything like that, that would be somewhere you could set up. It's kind of, I guess it's in town. You zoom out, again, it's quite central, very near the centre, well, bottom edge centre of the map. So if you want us to do work sort of across any areas, you've got some options to do that. So there we go. That's kind of summarising where they are. 1, 2, 3 main farmyards, and then some opportunities, 1, 2, 3 opportunities there for kind of building your own farmyards, contractor's yard in there, and then a couple of other options scattered around. So we're going to start out having a look up here at this one. This is the one I first started working on. It's probably the most advanced in terms of decoration, in terms of finishing. In fact, the way I'm working on the map at the moment, my plan is to finish off this area to the west of the river. So tidy up all of this, get this all finished, because by doing that, I'm actually going to introduce a lot of the features that I'm going to use elsewhere on the map. So if I can get this part here sort of tidied up, it should make it easier to flow through into the rest of it. So let's go and take a look at the farmyard. So I thought I'd start out here at the road. We've got the main farm entrance in here. If we just sort of go forward, got a little bit of a cattle stop there, cattle grate. I need to do a little bit more work on finishing this. But basically, you come down this big, long driveway and across a little stream crossing over here, and then kind of twists around here, and this is kind of like the main farmhouse in there. Some decoration work to do into that. And then we'll just stop here. We've got the kind of cattle yards down in here, so there's a little area, because if you had a truck, you'd drive the truck around, bring it out forwards, and then back it into the loading race there for your stock. I've got a few more fences I do want to put up around here just to finish this area off as well. That is one of the things. And then if you remember back looking on the aerial photo, we did have an area here which had a couple of sheds, sort of lean-to sheds. So we've got one over here on the left, obviously one of the Rudolph Horman sheds, I think they are, one of the base game sheds in there. So a little bit of a storage space. But then on the other side here, I've shared this image a couple of times and shown people what I'm building here. But we've got ourselves a New Zealand style cow shed, so a herringbone cow shed, which I'm working on and going to get textured up and things like that. And this area out here, basically back to the end of the trees, across to those trees over there, that'll be a pasture for the cattle or cows. So this will be the main cow shed. I've got some fences to put in. You see a decorative water trough I've built. And the idea here with these sheds, if you're not familiar with how this works, is your cows would come in here. We've got this gate here which needs a few wheels just on the end here, but they'd call this a backing gate. It would come around into the bowl here of the yard. Close off that, and then the cows would slowly and surely get fed through into the herringbone. So down both sides, so you'd load up this side. I don't have any collisions on that, hence the jumpiness. There's a pit there that I've made a hole in the ground. But basically your cows would come down this side. You'd put the milking cups on. We can go down and have a look at those. So see there, those milking cups that I've modelled. They'd go on the cows on that side, and while they're getting milked, you'd feed the cows in on the other side. I'd come in down here. Once I've finished on one side, you take the cups off and transfer it onto the cows on the other side. Let the ones out on this side, they'd go, and you'd bring your next lot in. So that's kind of how the cow shed works. This is a pretty small version and pretty simplified, but I'm trying to kind of show some of the realistic aspects of it there. So some of the milking plant up above there is going to the effort of modelling the cups and that, but obviously it's not going to work or have any function. Then we're going to have a door through here, and this will come in here, will be where your milk vat will be, where your silo for storing your milk is. And obviously we'll put a door on that, and this is where you'd load up your milk. Your milk truck would be here somewhere for that. Now what I do want to do is basically have, when the roller door's closed, you can't load or unload the milk, so you'd have to go in there, open the door, which would give you access to the vat, bring the trigger out, and then you'd be able to load up a trailer or whatever it is to take your milk to market. So that's the idea. Going around here, we'd have some more fences. The idea here is this would be a fill plane. So this is where you'd feed your animals, kind of the way New Zealand often does it, is silage or TMR or whatever you're feeding your cattle would be using a feed wagon and just dumped onto the ground, and they'd go around and eat it. So actually, if you look at some aerial photos, there's some really cool patterns made by farmers when they feed their cattle that way. So that's kind of the idea there. I'm also going to put in a little bit of a slurry pit here, so when you're cleaning out your cow shed, you'd wash it down and it would come out and sit into a slurry pit here, which you could then typically nowadays you see a lot of dairy farmers will spray the effluent onto their fields directly, so it'll be pumped out of here rather than using big storage tanks. It's dealt with on site really quickly. They still have to have settling ponds for taking out solids and things like that, but that's kind of how that would all work. So yeah, that's what I'm working on. It's a bit of effort to go into getting that all done, but that's not even the latest model. I've actually done some more work on it since then and that, but I want to get the model all done and ready to go, and then we'll get into texturing it. My plan is to make that a placeable as a standalone, so we might see that maybe released on modhub as well. Bit of a dairy farm or a cowshed with some of these triggers on the ground, and yeah, make it usable and functional so you could put it on any map that you want. Let's just carry on down the main road, or the main entrance here into the yard. So it kind of weaves in and around these trees on the right. Again, a few more fences to put in. And then we've just got a pretty simple setup. It's another one of the base game sheds here on the right. You can go over. Is there a door? Maybe not. A trigger here on these somewhere. Must be a trigger somewhere for it to open the doors. Maybe that I don't own the land, so I can't. But anyhow, there's the shed. I'll have to make sure that's all functional before we go any further. So yeah, got some storage space in there. On the other side here, obviously got the pole shed pack. This is the 4-bay pole shed with the object storage here in the end. So some bale space. Just another sort of barn. You do see some barns like this around in New Zealand, so it's not completely out of place, but a little bit uncommon. And then kind of tying in with what I showed you earlier around having the silage bales here and it being a bit of a feed store, I thought this would be a good place to have a couple of silage bunkers, kind of replicating some of that. So got those there, 2 drive-through bunkers, so you can sort of drive through, unload. There's a track running down the side there, which gives you access back out. A little bit more decoration to do on that. And then obviously making use of the bulk buy bunkers, we've got a lime and a fertilizer bunker just there to be used. And that's pretty much all there is to see on this farmyard. It sort of runs back down the other end here. We just fly up a little bit. There's a track that runs through, gives you access out into some of these fields. So the idea with a lot of this is all connected to the same farm, would all be used by the same farmer. Got some grass fields, a mix of grass and arable. So I can kind of see this being set up and used as a bit of a mixed farm. So there we go. That is the first of the farmyards. Like I said, some of the main things to do, a bit more decoration, obviously finish off the cow placeable, and this side of the map's really just a lot of decoration and just making sure things are functioning, that we've got the land viable, all of those kind of things. And yeah, other than that, decoration, AI splines. I want to do some more work on the power lines. I've got some placeholder poles in there, but they don't have any cables or anything on them, and there's obviously some more fencing I need to do along the road here, back along the boundary and things like that. So yeah, but other than that, this side's reasonably well advanced compared to some other parts of the map. All right, I don't want to dwell on this for too long, so that's looking at this part of the map. As you can see, I don't actually own that farmland around there. I think this is all part at the moment of Farmland 100, so if I buy that, that'll be why those doors didn't open, but this will be purchasable as a block of land all on its own. Right, let's go up to the top here and we're going to have a look at this farm. Right, so second farm here. Once again, this is actually accessed off the main road that runs north-south through the map. Like I said before, it is State Highway 1. It is, I think, the equivalent of the main motorways and highways in some countries, but our small nation, we don't need a big dual or multi-lane highway. We do in some areas, but not everywhere. But the access here, just a gravel road which goes down and over the train tracks, bit of an uncontrolled crossing, so be careful when you're heading down there. But like we've said before, this is kind of big open arable land, so not actually planning to put many fences, if any more fences on this side of the map. Going to leave it kind of open, give you the chance where if you wanted to, you can actually merge a lot of these fields together. I've made a couple of little mistakes that I'm going to have to go through and fix. I put sand down and I didn't realise that sand had quite a big ground deformation or tire deformation with it from driving vehicles over it, so I might go through and change some of those materials. But let's carry on down here and have a look at this farmyard. So again, I've tried as much as I can to kind of replicate some of the layout. So this did have kind of a shed here on the right as you come in, had a couple of sort of standalone grain silos out there on the left, and then a sort of a collection of silos that scattered around. So we've got the 3 along the back of the shed. It's kind of like some commodity silos there on the end, so I thought I'd put a water tank down there. And once again, it was a bit of a barn, so grab that building there and put it in there. Whether, again, that's appropriate, I'm not sure. Lots of silos. I think it's overkill for what we're farming, what you're probably going to be able to farm on this one, but I'm trying to keep, again, consistent with what I could see on the aerial photo. Another shed in there, just an open storage area. And then we've gone and again using the bulk buy bunkers. We've got the 3 or multi-buy bunker there with fertilizer, lime and stone in it. So yeah, we'll see how that all works out. Carry on around the back here. As I said before, looking at it, this area is very overgrown. Looks to be like just a big parking area for equipment. Being an older farm, it's probably got a lot of scrap equipment lying around, so I'm going to have to try when I get to decorating this area, see if I can find some old scrap equipment, models, things like that, that we can put in there just to make it look a little bit more in keeping with what's going on there. And obviously then just carrying on down here, this is the other area, and here on the left this was the other area which was quite scrappy, overgrown, scrubby, used as a bit of a, I don't know, not so much a rubbish heap, but a used equipment area. So again, use it how you wish, but I did want to keep things flexible. This would be a good spot to expand the farm into. If you wanted to put down some animal placeables and have some animals on this part, you could do that too. So trying to keep it flexible. I want people to be able to play it in as many ways possible that they can. I don't want to sort of dictate terms, so I'm kind of being realistic with that as we go. But yeah, you can sort of see as you look across the image that I've got for the map border, this is really flat over this side. One of the things I do want to do is, looking back that way, is back into the Southern Alps, so try and get that in the background, that you do see the mountains and ranges running down that way. So there we go. That is the second of the farmyards at the top. Now, I'm not even sure you can jump into the map when we get down there, but the third farmyard is pretty much south here as we head along the stream. So third farmyard down in here. Now this is actually accessed all the way back down off this road. Comes down here parallel with the train tracks, and you drive in between these couple of fields basically to where we are now. So again, it's quite a bit of a haul to get in here, but again, trying to keep it as realistic as possible. And so just going to fly in and over here. These are the large hedges I was saying. So at the moment, they're just a very scaled up version of some of the base hedges that I could access. Again, things a little bit too big, sort of the way that it's been scaled up doesn't work. So we're going to have to find some other options for that. But again, something to work on. Then coming in here, kind of the farmhouses over there on the left, there's some sort of sheds and, you know, a little bit of a trailer home look and feel to it, just looking at aerial photos. So trying to replicate that once again. And then in terms of the actual farm itself, again, making use of our pole shed. We've got another of the Rudolph Horman sheds in there as well. And then it goes across the stream, and I've actually used one of the base game object storage sheds there because that sort of seemed to fit in with that little bit of a garage. But there's, you know, there's space all around here. I kind of see this one again being able to be used if you wanted to put some little animal pastures out here, and you get right out the back here into this big grass area. Again, they're kind of overgrown and scrubby and, you know, not used farmland, but you get these sort of little sheds that are sort of scattered around, and obviously were used in some way at some stage. So this farm's kind of finished in terms of the function of it. Obviously a whole lot of decoration still to be done. These piles down here which are kind of looking as if the drainage ditch here has actually been cleaned out at some stage, and the dirt's just been dumped on the side of the bank and just left there and kind of got a bit overgrown. So that's kind of what we're doing there with that. But yeah, once again, getting over here and you can see there's a little bit of an open shed, and I kind of think that'd be somewhere there'd be, you know, old vintage antique rundown unused machinery or stacks of logs, or, you know, just all that debris and detritus and things that you end up with around farmyards. It's just seems so typical of them. And then it's contrast with the well manicured lawn of the homestead there on the other side of it. So yeah, a little bit of contrast, a little bit of juxtaposition. Again, lots of decoration still to do in these, but the bones are there, the main parts are there. And yeah, it'd be interesting actually to see how someone might go about populating some of this, because I think some of these areas make fantastic farmyards, particularly now with the fact you can create your own sort of pasture area, so you can make it as big as you want to, so you could fill that area up with pasture even if it was just a small shed. Again, one of the other things I'm going to look to do is make a fenceless placeable for a cattle pasture, so that might go in helpful for that too. So need to figure out how that's done, have a look at how some other people have done it, and try and not so much replicate it, but come up with one that's appropriate to the map. So back to the map here, that's our 3 main farmyards. Top left up here, top right up the top there, and where we are at the moment here at 43. now I'm just going to scoot over. I'm going to have a look at these couple of spots over here where I kind of suggest you could build a farmyard. Again, not telling you what you should do. We'll take a look here at the sort of rundown little land holding, and then we'll come have a look over the side of the sort of yard area you could set up here by the sawmill, as well as where I'm going to build the contractor's yard. So this little road here in front of us heads down to actually going to be the main farm shop, main shop for buying all your equipment. The road down there to the right leads down into some of the other farm areas. We'll go and look at it in a second. Also lead down to a sell point in the future once I get those in. But this bit in here is kind of where I was saying it's very overgrown. Excuse me for the jumpiness. I'm sort of struggling with one of the latest updates. Seem to have taken away some of the finer control you used to be able to have with a controller. But as I was saying, this is kind of some of that really overgrown, disused land, which is kind of, you know, very small holding, very small fields. Rundown farm I've actually put at the moment. I've got a constructible shed in there, so you could kind of rebuild that. I've got the windmill there. I've tried to sort of make it look like it's been leaking and had, you know, water overflowing out of it, and it's flowed back down there into the stream, kind of eroded away a little bit of the ground. But yeah, otherwise we've got these kind of couple of sheds here. Not much to them. This shed here is openable, so you can actually get in and access it. Got one of the NPCs in here as well. I don't know whether I'll customize that a little bit more, but yeah, basically just a constructible area and a very much an overgrown area, but there's plenty of space out here too. You did want to go through and build a little bit of a yard, or just, you know, maybe set this up as a small holdings farm, you know, something you start off with some small equipment and just build things up. So trying to, you know, I know there's so many different ways people play farm sim, so I've been really trying to think about that as I'm going through the map build and think about how you could use the map in different ways. But yeah, this is kind of the rundown small holding area that could be used like that. So moving on down the road here, this is going to be one of the sell points once I get around to doing some more work on that. Basically, that is a big warehouse for a jam making company here in New Zealand. But this is what I was talking about, these areas which will kind of have cattle yards, have a silage bunker, but nothing else to them. But this area, you know, there's plenty of space in here to be able to actually go through and build a farm. Now, the idea would be these fences are all demolishable. So for multiple reasons. One, if you wanted to merge the fields, you could. You're not going to be hamstrung by that. Two, if you wanted to knock a fence down to build a shed, you could do that as well. But yeah, this is kind of a cattle yard and a silage bunker in there. In real life, this actually has a big pivot irrigator that sits in behind this. There's a big pivot irrigator here, which kind of heads over towards the river, which is over at the trees, and would pivot the whole way around up to about there, I guess, and then pivot the whole way around and cover everything basically back around to where that tree line ends. So yeah, big pivot irrigator in there. But this is where I've taken a little bit more artistic license with how I've set up the fields. I've got some sort of bigger ones, but that's the first of the two spots. I was thinking you could come in and build your own farmyard with the cattle yards and the silage bunker there. A little bit of flexibility for that. Then the second, just as we fly on over this way, just another random silage bunker. That's what I was explaining before. There was a silage bunker in a certain spot. If we actually pop over to here, everything's interlinked, so you can cross the stream. There's a fjord or ford there. There's a couple of those on the map. And then if we actually come up this way, we're going to get back out all the way out to the main road. But you've got access in there off that main north-south highway, and you can come in here on the left. And this is all open, plenty of space again in here, cattle yard. I don't know if I'll add anything else in here. This is kind of what's there at the moment. There's a cattle yard, and farmer will bring his animals in here and winter them in this area before they go back onto the main dairy farm, or just for whatever reason. This is how it's all set up at the moment. So I thought I would just pretty much keep it like that. But it does, again, if you want to build a farm, do your own thing, put a pole shed in, you can do that. So it gives some nice flexibility with this area. So just taking a look, we've been farmland 45 here. This is that small holdings area in the middle with those constructible shed, the windmill, a couple of those older sheds. This area here is where that first lot of cattle yards with the silage bunker was. Again, farm shop's going to be there. This is a sell point. Came down over the stream here, and this is the other set of cattle yards we've just taken a look at. But where I'm heading now, we've got the sawmill tucked in the back here, but we're just going to take a look at this yard area, and then we'll quickly turn around because where I've got the contractor's yard planned is going to be up in there. So I'm going to take a look at that too. So here we go. This is what I was talking about, just a small little area you could set up as a yard. We've got a house, a couple of sheds, and plenty of space for other sheds kind of the way it's actually set up at the moment, there was an access in off the road here, but that's all fenced off, and obviously the main access for the sawmill will be coming through that farm and getting down into here. Now I'm just actually thinking out loud, I don't know if I've put a gate in for this field. I have. There is access to get into that field, so that field will be separate and could be farmed on its own if that's what you want to do. But there's the sawmill. Actually plenty of space around the sawmill too, so I can't remember whether I've got these set up to be purchased independently. No, at the moment that's all one big plot of land, so if you're buying the sawmill you actually get all of that land as well. So there you go. If you wanted to build something, there's quite a bit of space down here to do that. There we go. Not too much to see, but again, lots of decoration still to do, lots of fencing, lots of planning. But then if we head across this way, across the train tracks, got a couple of little fields here which are kind of just on the edge of town. Train running past, just talking about the train. This area here of gravel is where you can call the train from. That's the train call point, and the idea would be that you'd use an auger or telehandler or something like that to fill the train up. So you'd bring that, stop the train there and load into it that way. But this area, either in this field, I haven't decided yet, but probably more than likely using some of this area kind of from this corner of the fence and running across this way and then down kind of back in here. This would be a contractor's yard, so maybe 2 or 3 sheds, possibly a multi-buy bunker or something like that, a diesel fill point, just all those kind of useful bits and pieces a contractor might like to have as part of their repertoire and farming inventory. And yeah, you could drive in and out of here and go and farm whatever you want to do. If you just want to run contracts and farm, then that's something you'd do out of here too. So yeah, some cool little things like that. And yeah, that's kind of about all there is I had to show you. Like, we've got all these little fields around, and I am going to have a look. I know maps like North Frisian had just animals roaming, so whether I could put a couple of horses in this just as decoration rather than being a viable farmland, just to give a little bit of ambience to the map, make it feel even more occupied and lived in. I've got a few ideas like that floating around too, so I'm certainly learning from what other map makers have done. But anyhow, there we go. That's probably all I've got to share for farmyards. Looking at those farmyards that we've got in there, the 3 main ones, and then the 4 or 5 options there to kind of build your own or work around some smaller little settings. Like I said, I'm trying to make the map as flexible and adaptable to different play styles as possible, because I'd dearly love to see as many people playing on this as I can. So if I can keep it flexible while still keeping the authenticity of the region, authenticity of New Zealand in the map, that's kind of the key thing to me. So that's what I'm kind of holding on to. Does it feel like I'm in New Zealand? So yeah, that's where we're at. I'll keep doing these. I'm going to actually try and do a few more live streams, or do a few live streams playing on the map over the next wee while, and just slowly keep plodding away at getting the things done. So any questions, any comments, please do feel free to leave them down in the video below, or jump on Discord. Come and share your feedback, any ideas you might have. Come and let me know, give me a message, or drop a comment in Discord as well. And keep an eye out for some live streams coming for playing on the map and just checking it out. So there we go. Looking at the farmyards for Winchester, map coming before the end of the year for Farming Simulator 25. I'm not committing to dates because we all know how that's going to end. Disappointment. That's where it would end up. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one.